The main basis of Freud's theory of psychoanalysis is based on the unconscious. In 1986, Freud's father passed away from disease, and Freud's self-analysis originated from this death and the series of dreams that came after. Much of what Freud believed in was built around pleasure and tension. In 1905, Freud proposed that psychological childhood development arrived in fixed stages, known as psychosexual stages, because each stage represents a fixation at one point. The three main stages that Freud developed were the oral, anal, and phallic stage. The oral fixated on the mouth, the anal fixated on the anus, and the phallic stage fixated on the genitals. From the phallic stage arose two complexes, the Electra and Oedipus. Boys experience the Oedipus while girls experience the Electra. Basically what these two complexes are trying to say is that one is attracted to the opposite sex while hostile towards the same sex. Relating this back to his father's death, Freud was in the Oedipus complex and realized that he secretly, through a mixture of love and hate, wanted his father dead because he saw his father as a barrier between his mom and himself. As a child develops through the psychosexual stages, he or she also begins to learn the ego and superego. And this is what Freud proposed of these three mental sets that we have: an id, an ego, and a superego. We are all born with id, a repertoire of unconscious memories. The id is the set of instinctual trends that a child can follow with no thought of social norm. What this means is a child can carry out their own unconscious desires with no thought of judgment or thinking from others. From this, through the oral, anal, and phallic stages, the ego and superego begin to develop. The ego is placed upon the id, but social norms are involved, which means you still tend to act out your unconscious desires, but you make sure to think of from judgment of others. The superego develops last, where he or she not only follows social norms and judgment, but also develop their own set of moral principles and, to them, what is right or wrong. Then develop the mental process of the brain. He claimed that there is psychic energy, that human personality is also an energy system. As mentioned, instincts and drives are a big part of Freud's view. He had two instinct categories, eros and thanatos. Eros is the life instinct, which comprises all self-preserving and erotic instincts, while the thanatos is the death instinct, which lies towards aggression, self-destruction, and cruelty. Following this, in the I, ego, and superego, Freud introduced that the mind possesses a number of defense mechanisms to prevent conflicts from becoming too acute, such as repression, sublimation, fixation, and regression. Of all the mechanisms, repression is the most important. As Freud once said, when a person experiences an intellectual impulse, they behave in a manner where the superego deems to be reprehensible, then it is possible for the mind to push this impulse away, to repress it onto the unconscious. Repression is the self-defense mechanism by which the ego seeks to avoid internal conflict and pain, and to reconcile reality with the demands of both it. Now in modern times, Freud's psychoanalysis can also act extensively as clinical treatment. The main goal using his theory is to reestablish a stable relationship between the three elements which make up the mind by excavating and solving unconscious repressed conflicts. Freud assumed that these repressed conflicts were buried deepest in the unconscious mind. Therefore, he got his patients to relax in a position where they are deprived of strong sensory stimulation and awareness of the analyst. They were then encouraged to speak freely and uninhibitedly, known as free association. Patients may also talk unwittingly about dreams, which the Freud say two parts, manifest and latent. Manifest content is what the dream appears on the surface. In Latin, are the unconscious desires reflected in the dream. Correct interpretation of the patient's dreams, slips of the tongue, free associations, and responses to selected questions can help the analyst locate the unconscious repressions producing these symptoms.